thanks for clicking on this video. As many of you might know, I'm a huge fan of the app Satori Reader. It's so great for people who are learning to read Japanese and who just want to improve their reading so that they can move on to native materials. I think it's a great app and website, and I love it. I did a review of it a long time ago, right over here, not that long ago, actually, about a year ago, and I went into all the things that I really like about it. And I was recently able to have just a great discussion with the creator of Satori Reader, Brian. In this portion of our conversation, we talked about what goes into creating a story on Satori Reader from the beginning to the end. A lot goes into these stories. So please enjoy my conversation with Brian, the owner and creator of Satori Reader. So how many people would you say are on the Satori Reader team at the moment?
Sure, yeah. It kind of depends on how you count because we have people contributing in sort of different capacities. But the core team is about 4 people.
Okay.
We have 2 writers, one here in Seattle and one in Japan. And they kind of take turns doing writing and editing. So when one is writing a story, the other one is editing, and they.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. They work together and kind of develop the ideas, and I try to be involved in that stage too. But
right.
Yeah, it's mostly them. And then I have a guy named Kenny who helps me with the annotation work and proofreading.
Right.
And it's just awesome to have that separate set of eyes because
right.
so much of our proofreading has to be done manually. So yeah,
right.
And part of the proofreading process is actually just going through and making sure that each word is linked up to the appropriate sense of the dictionary definition. So
right. Do you have to do that manually for every word, basically?
We do, yeah, we do that manually. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, and we've noticed areas that could be improved with technology. So we're always trying to increase both the speed and accuracy with which we can do that.
Right.
But
that is part of the big value, though, of like Satori Reader, right? Because there's only so much, maybe say, a computer can do to find the perfect definition. Whereas if a human's going in and checking, like, what the right definition is.
Yeah.
So you can put the correct one in there and not have to, have people guess which one is correct. That's so cool. It's something I really love about.
Thank you.
Satori Reader.
We've done a lot of thinking about like how could we, is there a way we could bring AI in or just like pattern matching or something that could check like, okay, if no is occurring after a noun, then it has to be one. But the thing is, there's going to be an exception for any rule that you can come up with.
And you're going to have to end up checking them all anyway, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. So we went through a couple team members, and then another integral part of the team in sort of day-to-day operations is our graphic design team. And that's led up by a buddy of mine named Shane French. And he's been involved with me in just various programming web kind of projects ever since I got started in programming. Actually, I was lucky enough to meet him as a 21-year-old guy, and we kind of hit it off. And so he's been involved in Human Japanese and Satori Reader, and so he does all of him and his team. He's got a couple other awesome people on his team, but they collectively do all of the series artwork that you see on the series page and all the episode artwork as well. So
the artwork is part of what really helps it stand out, right? When you're on that page with all of the different episodes and stuff, it's like it looks really good, really professional. It's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all thanks to him.
I want to go back a little bit because some people on the Discord and on Twitter actually wanted me to ask you a question, and we were talking earlier about all the work you do on Satori Reader, and I know this is jumping way back in the conversation, but they want to know what the process is like of creating a story from sort of start to finish. I imagine there's sort of, you think of a story, and then there seems to be just so much that goes into one of these things, so that they kind of want you to give us sort of an idea of what it looks like from day one.
Love to.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it starts, of course, with writing a story, and sometimes that starts with like sort of a brainstorming process. One story that started that way was Koibito. The writer and I were at a restaurant, and we were thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we had a story that had like alternating male-female narration? and we thought we wanted to get kind of a thriller story too. So that idea was born. And then we brought in our other writer editor in Japan and kind of fleshed it out together. And she took it, and that's our writer Hiroe Noma. And so if we just take that as a typical example, she and Rika, in this case, will work the story, kind of communicating daily and passing versions of it back and forth. And when they've got it to a point where it's pretty complete, I get involved in the editing process, mostly looking with an eye to difficulty level. Because like we were talking about before, a lot of times native speakers don't notice that something that they're, a grammar piece they're using or something is really challenging. Or sometimes I kind of, I have this like vocabulary thing too, where like, if there's too many difficult vocabulary words, I like the thermostat's kind of like going up in my chest, and I'm like, okay, this is good, ding, 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 this is gonna feel too hard, like.
Yep.
We can have like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to stop you here because just for a second, because I'm working on a course for people to work on writing Japanese for an intermediate course.
Wow.
And I've been doing that same thing that you're doing, where I'm correcting natives have written essays for me.
Okay.
And Yuki, my girlfriend's family, has been writing some essays, and I asked them to keep it quite simple, and I've been having to simplify it, going through, okay, this word's too difficult, this grammar's too difficult, and exactly like you said, man, there's just so much that you'd think is very, very straightforward, but is actually super complex grammar and vocabulary. I feel your pain.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't realize that, they picked up this this way of phrasing something in high school because it was kind of hard and kind of cool, and it kind of kind of became the way that they phrase things, but that actually that was kind of tough, when you first learned it. It's just it's easy to forget that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
sorry for interrupting you.
That's okay. No, not at all. I love the asides. So I try to just kind of like keep a virtual Brian who's, earlier in his studies inside me. And actually, that's one reason that I stay so involved with the Discuss comments. I don't want to lose touch with what feels tricky for people. So it goes through a round of editing for that purpose. And sometimes the writers yell at me because they really wanted to use that word.
Right.
But at the end of that process, we end up with basically a story that is, it's complete. It's divided up into the chapters that you're going to see on Satori Reader. And at that point, we are ready to send it to our voice actors.
Okay.
So, yeah, and we have some voice actors in Tokyo, and we also have some that we work with locally here in Seattle. So in the case of voice actors in Seattle, we'll have them come over and do like a table reading with us, just kind of work out some of the different parts if there's multiple characters. It was a lot of fun doing Kona's Big Adventure with Shun on the first one, Shun Eguchi. Yeah, and the second one we're actually still recording right now, but both Shun and his wife, Sayaka-san, are...
Yeah, I saw the video on YouTube. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're both involved, so we kind of figure out what the characters are going to sound like. And then we go to the recording studio and actually put down all of the audio. So on a story like the new Kona story, it's 88 episodes, I believe. And I think we've already done 5 studio sessions, and we probably got another 5 left. Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while to really get it right. So after we've got the audio, that goes back and it needs to be cut and edited, the best takes chosen and so on. Primarily Rika does that work. Our writer-editor is also our sound editor. And
Nice.
By the way, she's also the project manager. Aside from me, she's the person who spends the most time on a weekly basis, like full-time, on Satori Reader. So yeah, she keeps the whip cracking on me to make sure that I get this stuff moving through the pipeline too. That needs to move. So while the audio is being worked on, that's also about the time we start getting the artwork going. So I'll explain the story to our graphic design team, and they will start to kind of come up with some concepts for the series artwork. So next, after the voice-only audio is ready to go, we take those and we send them to a studio in Tokyo that does the sound effects for us.
Okay.
So, yeah, so a sound designer kind of like, thinks about what is going to work here. And also Rika does a great deal of directing there.
Okay.
Where we can have wind sounds, door sounds, stuff like that.
Right.
And so those guys do a great job, and we get back.
They sound really good, yeah.
Thank you. It's so much fun. We've only started doing that relatively recently, and I was pretty nervous, to tell you the truth, about whether people would like it or not. I was afraid people.
Yeah, fair enough.
I thought people might feel like it was kind of encroaching on just the pure voice,
Gotcha. A little distracting, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
It does very much. It yeah, definitely cool. Especially if you're just listening, because now you can just let the whole thing play through now, right? Even with the screen locked or whatever. So a lot of people are probably listening to it like a audiobook, and it brings a lot of life to it.
I hope so. Yeah, you can play through an episode right now, but not the whole series yet. We're working on that.
The episode,
coming. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So
That's coming. That's coming, guys.
It's coming. But yeah, so after we've got that audio kind of completely wrapped up, then we usually wait to load the text into the system until that point, because sometimes there's late breaking changes. In the studio, the actor will say, I think it would sound a little bit better if we change this word here or there.
Yeah.
So so then the audio kind of becomes the canonical version of what the story is now. So we load the story in, and Kenny takes a first pass at annotating everything up, linking everything to the dictionary definitions, marking the audio where it starts in each sentence. And and I'm at the same time writing the translations and working on the notes. And get those in. It goes through one more pass, a proofreading pass with Kenny and a proofreading pass with me. And we are finally ready to send that up onto the site. Yeah.
How long time? Give me a time frame. Like, how long would you say from start to finish that is? How many weeks, months?
Yeah, it varies by story, of course, but I would say on average maybe 9 months to the first episode. Yeah. And by the time the first episode is published, we're definitely not done with with all the annotation work. So usually I'm only about on a good day, I'm about 5 weeks ahead of the publishing schedule in terms of having all the annotation work done. And I'm ashamed to say, but very often recently I've been doing my last proofing round and pushing that stuff up there like the day of publishing. So it's
don't be ashamed. It happens to me all the time. Half of my videos are done the day before. So
yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of steps.
It sounds like it. It sounds like a lot. It sounds like you could have about 6 more people on your team and you'd still have about the same pace. It'd be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just finished reading the first Kona Story, and I jumped into the new Kona Story, which I've seen is much more, a bit more advanced. So I'm assuming it takes a little less simplifying to do on your end, like from the original, I'm assuming?
Yeah. The writers were restraining me. I was like,
I think it's great though. I really liked. I mean, there's only 2 episodes out so far, but I think having that slightly more advanced level is going to be really good for people.
Great. I'm glad you think so. Our writer was really passionate. That's Rika again, who wrote that one.
Right.
She really strongly felt that we didn't want to just do another rehash of the first one at exactly the same level. She wanted to take it to a new place and have Kona growing in his life, and have the reader also growing in their experience with Japanese. So yeah.
I really like I said, there's only 2 so far, so I don't know how it's all gonna go. I'm not gonna give away any spoilers for those of you who want to read, but I felt like it brought it up just enough. Like it's not too much to where people are gonna be extremely overwhelmed if they were able to read the first Kona, but it's also at a nice level to where I feel like, you know, I'm picking up a lot even from it. Like there was a couple of new things in the first one. I was like, oh, that's going in my vocabulary. That's going in my review cards. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.